again and welcome. This is Robert Schein, Managing Director and Partner at Blanke, Schein Wealth Management. Today is November 1st of 2022. Only 2 months left, and we finally made it to November. So get ready for Thanksgiving because it's rapidly approaching, and the holidays are soon right after that. But we just concluded a much needed up month for the month of October on the markets. The Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500 best that we've seen since 1976, if you go back and look at the sort of returns, and coming from oversold conditions from later this summer in the market, we saw a rebound. Now, today's job number is from the JOLTS report. And the JOLTS report, from an economic standpoint, we want to see, the Federal Reserve specifically wants to see, as they're going to speak today and tomorrow, they're in a 2-day session, and tomorrow we actually get the results of what we expect is a 75 basis point increase in the Fed funds rate. That's the fourth time this year, and that's 375s or 475s back to back if that happens. And that would be the most that we've seen in quite some time. And that pushes us Fed funds rate in the mid fours, and potentially in December another half a point rise in the interest rate. So we could be close to high fours by the end of this year. And remember, in January, we started from 25 basis points. So we went from 0 to 60 extremely rapidly. Why? Because the economy is still hot. As I referred to, the JOLTS report came out. There's 2 job openings for every 1 employee to fill that job right now. And that really puts pressure on wage inflation for employers looking for talent out there. And that's not good because it's a healthy economy on one hand, and that's what we want. That's really good for the consumer because that's what we want. But for the Federal Reserve that's trying to control inflation, that's not a good thing. So a healthy economy is not a good thing. They're trying to slow the economy down. And so by going from 0 to 60, they're putting not just the brakes or a governor on the economy, they're putting the slamming the brakes, potentially emergency brakes. So the question is, are we in a, what Jay Powell type of will show up tomorrow? Meaning, will we see a hawkish or a dovish? We believe the Jay Powell that's going to show up in the press conference. We don't believe we're going to get a surprise in the 75 basis points. It's going to be the press conference that markets are actually going to pay attention to, and that will move markets. That's why we're bringing that up. Now, again, what's Jay going to say or not say? And ultimately, that will move the market when he has the press conference. And he basically will be, we believe at Blanke Schein Wealth Management, it'll be the hear no evil, say no evil, speak no evil. Essentially, remember the 3 wise monkeys. And he's going to act as if inflation is really the number one goal. And then the number one sole focus. He's myopically focused on this one task, and he's going to sacrifice everything in between, including a healthy economy. Now, we know that housing is slowing and real estate is slowing, and that's a third of GDP, if you think about it. And it's a lagging indicator as it relates to by the time the economic data pulls through and gets to their desk of all of the economists. And so in the press conference, what we want to hear is a question on, the consumer seems to be going into a stressed condition and a transition into more of a drawing down on the M2 money supply. That's all the money in the bank. So the consumer is now drawing more credit and drawing down on all of their savings. And what we've known from the past, and I'll show you this inflationary, we should put this on the screen right now. It's the inflation flows, the money flows. So as the money to M2 money supply, basically everyone's spending a bunch of the stimulus, the government's spending a bunch of the stimulus, but that's going away. And once it goes away, you're seeing that the purple line will follow and it trails the blue line. Now, what's the blue line? It's the M2 money supply growth rate. So we saw that mountain go up when all that money went out from the governments to the consumer. And then later on, the CPI core inflation, which is the number one indicator what the Federal Reserve watches as it relates to their indication of inflation, shows that it's already arcing down. It's already rolling over. So is that an opportunity for the Fed to pause or pivot? Well, the answer is no, because in the 70s, the Federal Reserve did just that. And when they paused at this exact moment of this chart, inflation actually reaccelerated to higher highs. And that's what Federal Reserve Chairman is most worried about. And what's he going to say? What's he not going to say? But the Fed actually needs a warning track. And actually, 1949, that's when the warning track was instituted in baseball. And if you don't follow baseball or don't know baseball, it's basically that 15-foot dirt patch at the end of the outfield. So when the outfielder's running and he's solely focused on the one thing, which is catching the ball before the warning track was there, it was all grass. So what happened is the baseball player would just run right into, without any warning, into the back wall of the ballpark. And there was a very famous player that basically repeatedly happened to. And as a result, they said, wait a minute, we got to stop this nonsense. So if you're an outfielder, you feel it, the transition, you hear it underneath your feet, and then you can slow up depending upon what you're focused on, which is catching. So in this case, Federal Reserve Chairman is looking at solely inflation, but he's going to run right into a wall, which is wrecking the consumer and the economy as a result of it, as inflation then ultimately comes down. So that's the balance he's going to have to play. I believe he's going to be hawkish tomorrow. I don't think there's any upside potential for him to acknowledge the fact that the economy or the consumer, which basically upholds the economy, which upholds the earnings of corporations. I don't think he has the ability to tip his hand and say, hey, yes, I acknowledge that. If he does, that would be a pivot. That's the actual definition of like, oh, wait a minute, they're changing their mindset. They're acknowledging the reality. That's why I said the three wise monkeys are just ignoring, the Federal Reserve's ignoring the reality because their fear of going back and repeating history's mistakes. Again, the Federal Reserve mistakes of the 1970s. You know, we're in baseball season right now. We have a favorite time of year. I love watching the World Series. That's why I brought the Major League Baseball sort of analogy into it, as well as what we're seeing play out tomorrow, what markets are actually solely focused on, and what we're going to be paying attention to for our clients as it relates to Blanke, Schein Wealth Management and what moves the market. There's ways to position either way, and that's what we're setting up for. We've been doing some last few weeks quarterly rebalancing, and either way, we're positioned for whatever or whomever the sort of the message seems to be from the Federal Reserve Chairman tomorrow. So that's really what matters. That's what we're paying attention to, as you should too. And thank you for watching. We'll see you again later this week. Take care.